Okay, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, man. Wow. Um, hey, hi, how are you? I know you're likely way better than the fellow in the bucket. Okay, that's for sure. Let's dive in and look at this like from a safety perspective, shall we? First off, the old saying of fail to plan, plan to fail. Well, in this case, no safety plan, plan for no safety. And when you plan for no safety, this is going to lead to injury or death. Let's take a look at that again in its entirety, shall we? Okay. Well, just this little clip. I've got another clip, and I'll go over that too. But let's have a look at that just quickly again. Wham! And yeah, not cool. Not cool at all. But I've got some more to show you as we move along. But right now, first off, I want to give credit to Jason Brosen. He's the one that posted this. It's popped up on my LinkedIn feed. And, well, secondly, that was horrendous. In fact, I'll leave a link in the description for the LinkedIn feed and the post. Lots of folks are blaming the trucker. Some folks are blaming the spotter for not directing traffic. One person even said it was an AI-generated video. But this actually occurred in Denham Springs, Louisiana. The original video was actually captured by a fellow named Bill Atkinson on his dash cam, and he posted it to his Facebook page. And you can check the description for additional news links, and I'll give credit where credit is due all the time. But needless to say, on LinkedIn, there was, and even lots of other socials more than likely, there was other thoughts and opinions. There were, of course, lots of posts around the worker wearing a harness and being clipped in. And really, when you think about it, that likely was the only thing that saved him from certain death. And as I said, I'm leaving links in the description so you can go ahead and check out what you want. But let's unpack all of this, shall we? Now, one thing's for certain. I don't want you or anybody to climb aboard the blame train, okay? And there's lots of blame to go around. But with safety professionals, we don't look at assigning blame. We look at finding solutions and preventing the problem from occurring again. Yes, the light was red. The trucker should have never been proceeding into the intersection. But that's not all of it. First off, the question we need to ask ourselves is, was there a safety plan? Was there a safety plan in place? Was it perhaps left on the dash of a pickup or at the desk at the shop? Or was it just ignored completely with the idea of, let's get her done? So this brings us to what should be in the plan if they had taken the time to do one and then followed it. Every safety plan is essentially a site-specific hazard assessment where you look at the phases of the job and you consider the hazards that are present and then implement the controls either that will nullify the hazards or make it safe enough that work can continue safely. This is obviously a maintenance job taking place by an electrician on a roadway. So it goes without saying there's a few hazards. And let's put aside that shutting off the power and so forth and de-energizing before you're doing anything. Let's put that aside. Let's look at the fact that traffic is a hazard. So considering that, these points are an absolute necessity that should be in your safe work plan or your job hazard assessment, your site-specific hazard assessment, whatever you want to call it. And the very first thing is you should consider a good administrative control. What time of day is there the lowest traffic saturation? And then try to plan that work around the time. There's always increased risks and costs for performing this type of work at night. So if you're going to do it during the day, what time of day has the lowest concentration of traffic? That's step one. Now, the other thing is, I'm not sure how things work in the US. I'm not. I'll give you that in a heartbeat. I'm Canadian. Proudly so. Ashamed of my government, but still proudly Canadian. But anyway, I digress. I'm not sure of how things work in the US. where this is concerned, but in my experience, informing local law enforcement of the job and the scope of the work is very pragmatic. In fact, sometimes you can even get their help. I live in Calgary, Alberta, and honestly, I see it lots where Calgary Police Service is helping where there's high risk road work being done or maintenance being done where there's traffic. So that's another thought. Now, the other thing is placing warning signs well in advance of the work being done, and more than one. This will also mean obfuscating current speed limit signs, bagging them off. I'm sure you've drove along and seen what looks like a garbage bag over a speed sign, a speed limit sign. Most of the time it is. And so what that does is that tells the drivers that that speed limit is no longer in effect, and they have to pay attention to the construction sign. Now, the next thing is barricades for closing off the lane, and then traffic control in the adjacent lane is non-negotiable. In fact, let's take a look at this from another wider perspective, shall we? I'll just start the video here and we'll watch it all play through. Now, let's just pause it for a sec here. And as you can see, there's other work trucks that are parked on the side of the road. I'm assuming that there's other personnel in them because I only see one spotter on the side of the road right here. That's it. And it looks like he's attempting to direct traffic at the same time. So if you notice in this wide-angle view, once again, it's somebody's dash cam, there is no other traffic control taking place. So let's keep watching. Yeah, looks like he's stepping in, trying to do some control here. And, oh, it always pains me to watch this. I've watched it a few times and it just pains me. And notice how there's a whole bunch of other workers getting out of the truck. What were they doing? Having lunch? I mean, what was going on? So, once again, what this means is the spotter seems to be trying to do the job of the spotter and control traffic at the same time. Not a good example of multitasking. There needs to be barricading and then an assigned traffic control person. And only then can the work take place. Otherwise, it's unsafe and we're just increasing risk. Like I said, what's worse, there were workers in the trucks parked at the side of the road. I'm not sure what the jobs were. Hopefully they weren't assigned to posting signage and doing traffic control. But really, folks, safety leaders, it's about understanding and recognizing hazards, assessing them for risk, and then implementing controls. There's two problems here. One is people just want to get the job done, so they sort of put safety off to the side and think, well, we've got them clipped in. What worse could happen? That's one thing. Now, the other problem is people, I guess I should have said three, people don't do a hazard assessment, or if they do, they confuse hazards and consequences, and then they also confuse hazard severity with risk. Both sets are different. And now it's important to understand that not properly identifying hazards will mean not properly implementing controls, and you're going to continue down that path, and this means increased risk and an increased risk of likelihood of injury or worse. Now, this fellow looked like he was unconscious. He might have been, but as reported by another news source, once again, links in the description, the Denham Springs Police Department said the worker only suffered minor injuries and was not taken to the hospital because he had a harness on.
That's a relief.
Not for me to comment. Still think that's weird, though. But as of a week ago, the Denham Springs Police were investigating whether or not charges will be filed. I'm not sure if they were or not. As I mentioned previously, it's not about blame.
I'm not going to play the blame game here.
That's the job of the police and the safety authorities. We, as safety professionals, need to look at prevention. We have to sometimes park our feelings at the door because we're after facts, and facts don't care about feelings. Facts will help us prevent future incidents from occurring. Now, needless to say, if there had been a safety plan in place that noted the hazards and the controls that needed to be implemented, and then a toolbox meeting conducted prior to the work taking place so everyone was on the same page, well, you wouldn't be watching this video. Sadly, though, you would have just been watching another video of unrecognized hazards or inadequate controls, or both, or even a lack of planning or a combination of all of these. In fact, every single incident investigation is conducted because there was a presence of uncontrolled hazards or the absence of adequate controls, or both. This brings me to a shameless plug. If you want to learn more about hazard identification, assessment, and control, you can take a course and receive a certificate for it on my learning platform. There's more information in this video up here, and of course there's a link and a coupon code both in that video and in the description of this video. Please remember, safety leadership isn't about getting it done. It's about planning the work, identifying the hazards, and implementing controls. Then, safety leaders are constantly vigilant to ensure that these controls are working. Think of it this way: plan, do, check, act. Okay? Take care. Bye for now.